See You on the Other Side podcast live here, and we are talking about one of the most interesting haunted cases of the second half of the 20th century, made so popular in the movie The Conjuring, with those fictionalized versions of Ed and Lorraine Warren invading that farmhouse in Rhode Island and taking on the evil witch Bathsheba. Well, guess what? There's a real house and there's a real history. And this next coming week, we're all under lockdown, but most of us are in lockdown in safe, nice, friendly places. We got people who are in lockdown, quarantined with the dead. And they're going to live stream their entire house, the house from The Conjuring in Rhode Island, over the next week. And we're here to talk about with the owner of the house. We're here with ghost hunter and I guess now live stream entrepreneur Cory Heinzen. Cory, how you doing?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Fantastic. You know, I think the first thing people wonder when we're talking about something like this is, what the hell were you thinking? You bought the house from The Conjuring. Like, what inspired you to do that kind of thing?
To be honest with you, we've always had a fascination with the paranormal, always had a fascination with American history, and to have them both fall under the same category with one home, a historical home like this, I mean, it was, for us, it's a no-brainer. I mean, if we fell in love with the house as soon as we walked into it, you know, with the paranormal story aside, I mean, you got 8.5 acres, you got a pond, you got a river running through the back. We didn't even have that back home in Maine. So it was like, you know, it's a new home. So.
Sure. Okay. So, you guys are from Maine originally, and were you always into like ghost hunting and paranormal? Like, what got you into that in the first place?
I always had a fascination with the strange and stuff like that, but it wasn't until like 2001 I had an experience on a Civil War battlefield when I was in the Marine Corps that I got kind of into the whole paranormal and realized that there was more to it. And, you know, I started pursuing it after I retired out of the military. So,
Okay, so to convince a Marine here, that takes a little extra. That takes a little extra on the spirit's part to convince a Marine of the paranormal. What was the experience on the battlefield? And do you remember which battlefield it was?
it was one of the battlefields in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I don't know if it was Massaponax or something like that. But what we do is we used to go out and we would have what they call a battlefield study, and we would go out with our platoon. We would bivouac for the night, and then we would actually have like camaraderie building exercises and stuff like that. Spend the night. The next morning, get a tour of the actual battlefield, and then we would do a walk and talk and see how we would have attacked it differently, knowing like our tactics and techniques compared to what they used back then. And yeah. But anyways, around 2 o'clock in the morning, we're all woken up, and there's like 50 of us out there. We're woken up by gunfire, cannon fire, screaming, but yet there's no flashes of gunfire. There's nobody running around the woods or anything like that, but it wakes all of us up. So we're like, what is going on? The tour guide comes out the next morning after none of us have slept, and he's like, oh yeah, it happens all the time. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't happen all the time. Who tells you this happens all the time? And he goes into Gettysburg and Antietam and stuff like that. And I was flabbergasted because I was like, I've always been told this stuff's fake, but seeing it with your own eyes, it makes you realize it's not.
And so starting with that, so you had that experience, and then so was Jennifer into the paranormal beforehand? Did you guys like meet on a ghost hunt or anything like that? Or because sometimes I know my wife, if I was like she's very good at, let's say, humoring me. Like we've been to Zach Bagans museums and things like that. But like she's good at humoring me. But if I was like, we got to get this house because it's haunted, she'd be like, make sure you check out, did you read the Zillow report on it? So was Jennifer into this as well? Is that how you guys met, or was it something passion you developed together?
we were high school sweethearts.
Oh,
So
nice.
like we married right out of high school. But she kind of developed a passion for it after I got into it because I was coming back from like, Waverly Hills or something like that, and I'd show her all this evidence and stuff, and she's like, "Oh my God, that's so neat." She couldn't put the time into it or the effort that I was putting into it because I had been retired. But when this house came up for sale, I was taken by surprise when she was like, "Yeah, let's go down and look at it." And I was like, "Seriously?" And she goes, "Yeah, why not? It wouldn't hurt to look." And next thing you know, it went to looking to putting an offer on the table to the offer getting, and then next thing you know, we're getting the keys of the house. And I'm like, "Oh crap."
We did it. We did it, right? That's like some people are like, is this going to be our forever home? It's like, well, we'll see what Bathsheba says about the forever home.
Yeah.
So, and you guys have experienced paranormal activity in the house. About how long before you, how long after you moved in did like the paranormal activity start to happen? Number one. And number two, when you talked to the real estate agent about it, were they cagey about anything, afraid about, or did they lean into it?
Uh, to answer the first part of the question, day one, like we came into the front door, and probably within 3 minutes, we had a door that is very difficult to open. They're all old school latches, like the old colonial latches.
Mm-hmm.
That opened up in front of us, so we all sat there with this stupid look on our face, going, "Well, that escalated quickly," you know. So, and then my daughter heard a growl, like nobody else heard it, but she heard it. It was enough to like make her kind of like on edge for the rest of the time she was here. But yeah, it'd been nonstop. It was like nonstop, and you just had to notice it. Activity was nonstop. So, but now was
and the second part was like, I just realized, how is the real estate agent going to talk about this? Did they stress the like the traditional parts of the house, like you can't believe it, there's 8 acres and there's a stream and it's beautiful and all that, and the farm, kind of thing? Or were they like, did they play into some of the haunted history of the place?
To be completely honest with you, I didn't meet the realtor until the third time we visited the house. We actually met with the owner the first time we came down to look at the house, came down a few days later, met with the owner. And then the third time was when we were filling out paperwork and stuff like that, was when we met with the realtor. The owner, she didn't bring up anything about the home because she knew that, we were well aware of what house it was.
Right.
You drive up to the house, there's no trespassing signs, no stopping your vehicle, police take notice, there's security cameras, up the wazoo. So what home you're looking at. So it was like, it was kind of like taboo, don't talk about it, and she was being genuine about it. So.
Okay. Well, I just wonder, because like the marketing of something like that, you just always wonder like how the, like beauty, 3,000 square feet, 6 bedrooms, haunted as hell. Like how do they do that? But right, comes with roommates.
Yes.
So you started experiencing paranormal activity, like on like day one, and so when you listen to the Perron family, and they had the whole family did a thing at Michigan Paracon last year where they all got together and they kind of retold some of the stories and everything. That the family that the movie The Conjuring was based on, and then Andrea's book, The House of Darkness, House of Light, which you are now living in the House of Darkness, House of Light. So, it seemed like, the movie really stresses the negative entities that may be there. Andrea, she seems to have said that there was some negative, some positive. Overall, how have the experiences you guys have had? Have they been towards like the harmless, like opening a door, or helping me find the keys, or like the knock on the wall, or has it been like get out of my house kind of thing?
Honestly, like our experiences compared to the parents, totally night and day. We've had nothing but positive experiences here. Um, I'm a firm believer in treat them as you'd want to be treated. And I've never had issues. Um, we've been touched, we've had doors open, we've seen black masses, we've seen shadow people, things like that, but never a feeling of dread, never like that negative, that overwhelming sense of, dread and negativity and stuff that people describe. Not saying that it's not here. We've been warned by numerous psychics that whatever is here, it's a trickster and it's laying dormant and it's just waiting for the right time. So these spirits that are being very nice to us, if you will, could in fact turn out to be like something bad, and we're just falling right into it. So, we just proceed with caution like, you normally would. So,
well, how long, after you guys moved in and obviously you're amenable and to like ghost hunting expeditions, and you've done it yourself, and paranormal investigation, about how long did it take for other people to start saying, can we come and investigate your house? Because I know you had the big Ghost Adventures event that was happening last year. And I want to talk about that in a minute. But before Zach and the gang showed up, I was just wondering if there was anything in particular, like were your friends like, can I come over and bring my EMF meter? Did you find yourself like the attention of a lot of paranormal groups once they realized that the house had fallen into the hands of a friendly?
A lot of people, we tried to just remain friendly with everybody, besides the ones that were out to like be malicious about what had happened, because a lot of people believe that this should have been sold to Andrea and her family, but the former owner was like dead set on that not happening. So it was like, why let it go into somebody else's hands that's probably not going to open it up to the paranormal community? So that's why we bought it. And it's like, look, help us get this done by, regulating people, make sure they're not stopping in the middle of the road, taking pictures, make sure they're not bothering our neighbors, and stuff like that. And it's like, we will open this to you guys, and unfortunately, Ghost Adventures, the day we bought it, they actually contacted us.
Oh, they didn't even give you a second, right? Zach's like, get the Heinzens on the phone.
Yeah. Well, the only reason was because one of their producers is Jeff Belanger.
Oh, sure.
And I know Jeff pretty well. And he called me up, and he didn't realize it was me that he was talking to. And he's like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." And next thing you know, because he lives right down the road. So he came over, checked it out and stuff. And, Ghost Adventures did their thing. So.
And how was so what you guys are about to do, and I kind of want to get this is a difference between something like a reality TV show and the kind of thing that's going to be on the Dark Zone for this next week, is if you guys have not, out there in the normal world, if you have not been on a ghost hunt yet, you will sit there for 8 hours to get a weird sound, or to hear a weird noise, or to get some activity on your EMF meter, or to sit in a room and feel a presence. All those kind of things that take forever. So when you're watching Zach Baggins or Jason Hawes or anybody, and they're walking around and they walk into a place and all of a sudden things are happening, Slimer comes out of the walls, all that kind of stuff. If you're watching it, what's happening in those situations is that they are taking like 5 minutes of 8 hours or 12 hours of footage, or days of footage, and they're compiling it to that. And so what I like about this is now you get everybody to join you on the ghost hunt there, and they can really feel what it's like for us that sit there for 8 hours at a time, and in a cold, like, at least you have a house. Like other people have, like when you go into an asylum or something, there's no heat, there's no power, it's freezing in there.
Yep.
And so when you saw yourself, and they on that big TV special and everything, how long was everybody, like, so you're doing this thing for a week. How long was the Ghost Adventures crew there for, to get enough for their special footage?
A week.
Okay, so they did spend a week.
Yeah.
And did they have trailers and stuff like that? Or you guys didn't have to make Zach dinner, did you?
Nothing like that, no.
He's like, I'm going to need to use your shower again, Corey. Sorry.
Nothing like that, no.
Okay. So, where did you guys get this idea where you're going to set up cameras and, I'm interested to know exactly how it's going to go down, how the live stream is going to go down. So can you kind of get into the idea in the first place and how you set it up?
We were actually presented with the idea from some producers out in Hollywood. We were working with for a different special, and they actually came to us just as this pandemic hit off, and they're like, how are you guys doing? This, that, and the other, just touching base with us, and they had just hey, you ever thought about live streaming, a few cameras at the house? And we were like, yeah, we thought about it, but I'm not that tech savvy. I don't really know how that works. And it'd probably be in the camera in the bathroom or something like that I don't want.
Right. Like, oops.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jennifer. I just ruined it for everybody. It's like, sorry, honey. That's fighting words. I get it.
But they just came to us with this idea. They're like, hey, what happens if we could do like a live event for a week straight, 24 hours? And I was like, it's doable. Everybody asks us, hey, what do you guys investigate every night? It's like, no, I'm in bed like 7 o'clock every night. If something wakes me up, then I'll investigate, but it's home. And so they presented it, and then all of a sudden they presented it as, you ever thought of doing a virtual Paragon, inviting celebrities in, to come in for like an hour and, talk over Skype or whatever platform they're using. I don't know. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool idea, especially where all these Paragons are getting, canceled because of the epidemic. And it's just grown from there. So it's like Big Brother, Paranormal Big Brother.
Right. Right. That's a great way to put it. Paranormal Big Brother, where and the Ed TV or the Truman Show or whatever, where people are just going to watch the life of the house for an entire week. So exactly how many cameras do you guys have set up so far?
The way we're going to run it, we're going to have 9 static cameras. We're going to have 5 ISO cameras. And then we're also going to have 4 cell phones. The cell phones, obviously, when we're walking around and stuff. The ISO cameras are actually for audio as well as video. And then the 9 static cameras are actually off of our DVR. And so when we go dark for the night, as far as like all activity cease and we go to bed, they'll be able to access those 9 security cameras, and they'll be able to like watch the security cameras on their own. So basically they're going to be the paranormal investigators watching while we're in bed. And then in the morning, through the chat room or whatever, if somebody saw something, we can go through the DVR, pull it up, and compare notes and stuff like that. So it's all interactive.
That's a pretty cool thing. The chance, because the thing is, people could be watching on the other side of the planet, right? Where they're not, 3 o'clock in the morning in Rhode Island is gonna be, 3 p.m. in the afternoon in India or something like that. So anybody can, from all over the world, they can watch it, and they'll be fresh and bright-eyed instead of like me watching at 3 o'clock in the morning, going to be like, I saw it. Did you see it? I saw it.
Exactly.
So that's a pretty exciting possibility. And I think this is the first time, I know that people have put up like trail cams and stuff in haunted locations before, but never such a like detailed, amount of cameras in one place where especially, if you see something in one security camera and see it in the next, or if you see something that looks like it might be some kind of paranormal activity in one area, and then, but you see, oh no, there's a guy walking down, Corey's walking down the hallway in the next, and that's why we saw the shadow in the other room, or that's why we heard it. So to have that kind of access where you can see parts of the whole house, I'd say is really exciting. Is there a particular place in the house that you have experienced more activity than any others? Like, are you having a particular area where you think is going to be the hotspot?
So far, like the middle bedroom and the library have been like our go-to spots. You can always it always delivers. Whenever we had people like guests come in and stuff like that, like, look, if you're just looking for something like, be it an EVP or object manipulation or something like that, these two rooms. Everything else, like, they're not as well as well liked by the spirits, I guess you could say. Sure. But those are the two go-to spots that we love dealing with. So,
have you like you mentioned that you knew Jeff Belanger from New England Legends, and 30 Odd Minutes was his old show. And, have you had any particular people that seem to activate the paranormal activity in the house more than others? When I think, that just stirred, like, is there anybody who's come to visit where all of a sudden the ghosts are like, oh, I love that guy? Or they're like, I'm coming for you.
Keith and Carl Johnson. Bar none, like, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, they were the first investigators here, before the Warrens. A lot of people don't know that. Pyro, which was their team, was the first ones that were there. And
so was that, if people aren't familiar with them, that was like a local team, or like a local East Coast kind of team that came in before the Warrens, or like what was that team?
It was a group of college kids from University of Rhode Island, and Keith and Carl Johnson, who used to be on Ghost Hunters, they were part of that team. They were both 18 years old, and they were basically lead investigators coming to this. They answered an ad. They put an ad in the paper, and Carolyn Perron reached out to them and, requested assistance. And they came and documented evidence. And I want to say they were here 2 or 3 times before they were like, this is kind of outside of our pay grade. Let's contact the Warrens and see what they say. Then the Warrens came in and basically, I won't say kind of pushed them out, but the Warrens took over the case from there.
Sure. Well, the Warrens did what they did actually, which is they had their own style and their own methods and their own plans. And that kind of, like Roger talks about punching Ed in the face. And so that's interesting. So when they came in, that so much activity happened because it was like the house remembered them. That idea is pretty fascinating, that certain people who may have had a relationship with the house when it was at its most kind of active is that kind of still comes back, and I think that's an interesting thing. Do you feel that the spirits there are people that have lived in the house before? I mean, I know this is pure conjecture, and we're all talking here like, but when you talk about the history of a place, sometimes you think like, okay, this is a person that lived here and they care, like that. I keep seeing the grandmother cleaning up or whatever because she lived here for 50 years and she died in this house and she wants to make sure that people take care of it. Or other places just seem like they could be like a port. I hate to use the word portal because that makes me sound all spacey. But it looks like a waypoint or some kind of place that seems to collect energy no matter where it's from. Do you feel that the experiences you have in the house lead you to believe they are protective people tied or protective spirits or energy tied to the house, or maybe it's more like the house is just a place they can come through?
It's really hard to say because I know for a fact, like a lot of the names that we've utilized, like during spirit box sessions, EVP sessions, and stuff like that, are names that were associated with the home. And some of the responses that we've gotten, and the number one response everybody has, well, is Bathsheba here? And it's like, we have gotten Bathsheba through EVP sessions, through spirit box sessions and stuff like that. But the problem is that her name has been brought up so many times, not only by us, but by other teams, what have you. Who's to say it's not a trickster saying they're Bathsheba? Right. We don't know. We honestly don't know. We try not to give too much information to the spirits when we're talking to them, but in order to get information from them, to extract that information, you have to give them a little bit to go off of, because you got to remember, these are people from like the 1700s, and right. You're trying to it just doesn't work that way.
You can't ask them questions about Instagram if they're from the 1600s. Oh. Just a couple more questions, because I know you have a million preparations to do and you're getting all the cameras ready, and I'm sure how many crew members are there? Like, how many people came out to actually work on the house and install it? And was that difficult with travel and social distancing and everything else that's going on right now?
We've had nobody travel out here to set anything up. We have one person running the whole thing.
All right. Well, that's how you do it during a pandemic, right? You're like, one guy takes care of it, gets it all ready. That's exciting. Just the efficiency of a one-man team. Plus, he doesn't have to answer to anybody.
Well, he's answering to somebody.
Okay.
There's 4 other producers on the West Coast that sent all the stuff over here, but he's the field producer here.
So, and, just thinking about the kinds of paranormal, I'm sure you guys are going to do a variety of paranormal investigations this week. I'm sure there's going to be Ouija board, there's going to be spirit box, there's going to be, and then you're going to get suggestions in the chat room and everything. People are going to come on and be like, oh my, they're going to want you to try different stuff. Have you found any particular type of investigation that you guys kind of use as your go-to that seems to generate the most kind of activity? And so maybe the one you're most excited to initially share with everybody when the cameras turn on, because you're like, this is the one where we get the most results?
Honestly, like the spirit box, it's never failed us yet to generate like some awesome responses, and people always love spirit boxes. What will be neat is it won't be the stuff that you see on TV, because it's going to be unedited, and it's going to be things that everybody that says it's the radio, yeah, it's the radio, but where do you hear some of the things that come through the radio that you ain't supposed to hear through the radio? Because when you ask them to say certain things, they will say certain things, and sometimes it's words that you're not supposed to say in public. And
right, but you can say it on the live stream. Right?
Yes,
there's no censorship. There's no censorship on the internet, at least that we know of. And here, this is really exciting, Corey. I really want to wish you luck during this adventure, because I know it's a brand new thing for you guys. You're going in there, and it's like the world's first set all week, 24-hour a day paranormal investigation with the entire the ability for the entire planet to participate. I know, speaking of our friend Mark Johnson, he says, I'm excited for this. I'm stuck working on a PC all day anyway. This can just play on the second monitor the whole time. That's right. That's right. That's the thing, is that you can watch it when you're bored. You can just check it over there. Be like, hey, is there anything jumping out right now? Or is it, any black figures? So that kind of stuff is fun. And it's been the first time. So I'm excited to see what's exactly going to happen. Now, if people want to watch it, what time are you starting? And I know it's live.thedarkzone.tv is where they can sign up, and we've had that under your name a bunch. But what time are you starting? What time are you finishing? And did you guys get any new clothes or anything like that?
No. We're starting. We actually have the free preview starting tomorrow at noon Eastern time. And that's going to run throughout the evening, to my understanding, until 8 o'clock in the morning. And then the pay-per-view starts at 12 noon Eastern time and will run until about 8 p.m. the following Saturday. So you guys are getting us for like an extra 8 hours.
All right, the full week. And you find it live at the darkzone.tv. And everybody out there, we're going to do a follow-up. We're going to, after all this is over, to see what kind of evidence that people found. And you're going to be able to find that if you visit us at othersidepodcast.com. And we're going to also, in this video, you have a link at the bottom where you can sign up to the darkside.tv, and you can watch the stream, and you can also check out our podcast and more of the cool paranormal topics that we cover every week, and the songs we write on See You on the Other Side. Corey, I'm going to thank you so much for your time today. I know you're super busy, so get back out there. Go bust some ghosts. I can't wait to hear more about it and see what you guys are doing. So best of luck to you, and thank you for joining us today, and thank you everybody out there for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.